Divine Revelation. 7 Miraculous Reasons Why the Chosen Must Guard Their Sacred Space. Emily had always felt that the ancient chapel in Hopevale was more than just bricks and mortar. It was alive, pulsing with the prayers of generations. But now, a shadow loomed over her cherished village, creeping skepticism clouding the skies once filled with faith. Little did she know that the evening that followed her family's nightly prayer would bring forth a sacred vision that would change everything. As she knelt with her family, the familiar sense of candle wax and aged wood comforting her. A warm light descended upon her, wrapping her spirit in divine warmth. The vibrant radiance seemed to flicker like the flames of their prayers, echoing back the centuries of devotion stored in the chapel's very walls. Suddenly, Emily found herself spiraling into a vivid dream, where lights danced with celestial joy, illuminating the hearts of believers. Her heart thundered as she witnessed the chapel, glowing with life, spreading its influence far beyond Hopevale. It was a call, a revelation. The spirituality of her community was in jeopardy and needed to be rekindled. Together, we must revive our faith, she proclaimed, her voice echoing the urgency that surged through her veins. Gathering a handful of church members in her quaint living room, Emily decided to hold a special prayer vigil. She envisioned it as a miracle showcase of God's wonders, something that would spark flames of belief amongst the doubtful youth of their village. But then, a storm threatened to extinguish her flickering hopes. Thomas, Emily's vibrant brother, fell gravely ill, racked with a mysterious ailment that baffled doctors and cast a pall of despair. Emily's heart sank. Darkness creeped into the corners of her mind. Would God allow such suffering in the midst of their sacred mission? Desperation clawed at her, but she clung tightly to her faith, rallying her friends to the chapel every night, their prayers entwining like tendrils of smoke rising toward heaven. Days passed, and doubt infiltrated their supplications, like weeds threatening a once vibrant garden. But in the sacred shadows of the chapel, something extraordinary began to occur. A profound stillness filled the air. With each prayer whispered, an inexplicable peace settled over them. It was as if God himself was drawing nearer, amplifying their cries into a symphony of hope. Emily felt the divine weight of their gathering. Scripture echoed in her heart, urging her to perseverate. Where 2 or 3 gather in my name, there am I. Just before despair swallowed her whole, a sudden energy surged through the chapel. Emily sensed the atmosphere crackling with promise, the air thick and vibrant. Her heart pounded as she led the fervent crowd through the prayers. They beseeched God's mercy, their voices uniting like a chorus. Suddenly, a golden light engulfed Thomas. Gasps swept through the small crowd as the once sickly figure of her brother began to stir. Joy intertwined with disbelief. Was this truly happening? All eyes widened, hearts racing as Thomas blinked awake, color returning to his cheeks. The moment felt ethereal, electric, like they had peeled back the veil between the divine and the earthly. As Thomas sat up, healing radiating from him, Emily realized that the miracle had sown seeds of wonder in the hearts of the villagers, dispelling doubt and nurturing belief. But as they rejoiced, Emily pondered the lingering question that whispered through her spirit. Was this miracle to be a one-time blessing, or was it a divine summons to guard their sacred chapel and its traditions? The fight for faith was far from over, and deeper trials awaited. As dawn broke over Hopevale, the air shimmered with a renewed sense of hope. Emily stepped into the chapel, feeling the soft golden light of the morning wash over the ancient stones. Thomas's miraculous recovery had ignited a spark within her, but the question of how to protect their sacred space lingered heavily upon her heart. With a fervor that felt almost contagious, she began to organize meetings in the chapel every Sunday. Families poured in, drawn by the radiant stories of Thomas's healing. Emily felt guided, as if a divine current wove through her words, calling others to embrace a deeper faith. Each meeting they shared took on a life of its own, a sacred rhythm of prayers, testimonies, and uplifting songs echoed throughout the chapel. The congregation felt alive. The air was thick with the scent of hope, like freshly bloomed flowers gracing the soul. Yet, shadows loomed beyond the chapel doors. Whispers of doubt fluttered about the village like restless moths. They questioned the validity of the miracle and scoffed at the newfound passion igniting the chapel. Emily shivered at the thought of losing the very sanctuary that sparked such faith. "Why are we fighting for this?" she gently urged the group one evening. "We must remember that faith is a flame to be tended, not a flicker brushed aside." During one prayer session, as the sun dipped low, the chapel flickered with candlelight. Each flicker seemed to pulse with the heartbeat of every soul gathered. Suddenly, in a moment that felt scripted from heaven, a stranger entered the chapel. His presence brought silence over the crowd. There was something different about him. He wore a simple cloak and bore an open heart that radiated humility. "Peace be upon you," he began, his voice calm yet powerful. "I come with a message not just for this chapel, but for every heart that yearns for truth." Emily felt the collective breath of the congregation pause in awe. "Guard your sacred space," the stranger continued. "The miracles witnessed here are but the beginning. What lies ahead requires unwavering faith and unity. In this time of doubt, do not let darkness dampen your spirit. Strengthen the foundations of your love and belief. Stand firm." At his words, the air quivered with the presence of the divine. Tears flowed freely as hearts stirred with conviction. Emily glanced at Thomas, who smiled brightly, his spirit unexplainably renewed. She realized this was not merely a call to arms, but an invitation and opportunity to forge a community bound by faith, together facing the challenges that loomed. Within days, the chapel buzzed with activity. Plans were set to engage the youth with workshops and outreach, showcasing the power of goddess love in tangible ways. But, amidst the excitement, Emily felt a persistent worry gnaw at her mind, the stranger's message echoing ominously. They were rising, but would they stand against the tides of doubt? That evening, as she knelt in prayer, her heart suddenly filled with unease. What if the very love they guarded so fiercely was threatened by forces unseen? She whispered her fears to God, unsure of how to face what lay ahead. In the stillness that followed, an overwhelming sense of peace enveloped her, and she heard a whisper in her heart. "Together, you can withstand any storm." As she rose to face the coming days, a new flame ignited within her, the promise of goddess light amidst uncertainty. Yet, as the village stirred with renewed faith, Emily knew that darker trials awaited them. What would come next? Could their unified hearts truly deflect the shadows creeping ever closer? There was much still to uncover, and the true test of faith was on the horizon. Days turned into weeks, and the chapel became a sanctuary for all who sought shelter from the storm of doubt. Emily felt the weight of the stranger's words pressing upon her, like a gentle yet persistent breeze urging her to take action. The community rallied around one another, engaged in evenings filled with prayers and laughter, each gathering igniting an unquenchable thirst for more of goddess presence. But nightfall often brought with it a shadow of uncertainty. Emily could feel it creeping in, curling around her thoughts, even in the warmth of camaraderie. Skeptics began to surface more boldly. They sneered at the chapel's growing influence and whispered behind closed doors, sowing seeds of corrosion into the hearts of the weak. "Each voice we silence through love, dear Emily," Thomas reminded her one evening, his gaze piercing yet gentle, "is another chink in the armor of doubt." He was right. She needed to focus on nurturing the faith that surged around them instead of the negativity lurking at the edges. She had to keep the flame of hope burning brightly. Determined, Emily organized a special night dedicated to sharing the testimonies of those who had found solace and healing through their faith. She rallied families, urging them to come forth and share their stories. The chapel buzzed with excitement, as anticipation hung thick in the air. Families gathered, hearts open, ready to rejoice in the grace they had experienced together. As the evening commenced, voices filled the space, painting pictures of divine encounters. Each testimony felt like a brushstroke on the canvas of their collective faith, vibrant and alive. Emily listened, tearing up as stories of miraculous healings poured forth, mingling with solemn confessions of struggles, fears, and unwavering hope. Then, a hush fell over the crowd. Old Mrs. Hargrove, a widow known for her unwavering spirit, stood slowly. With cracked yet steady hands, She raised a trembling parchment, worn from years of handling. "I came to Hopevale lost in darkness," she began, her voice shaky but resolute. "But this chapel, this family, you have been my light. I found love here when I thought I had lost everything." Through her words, the room became thick with emotion, hearts aching yet swelling with joy. Emily stood in awe as the community wept together, their tears a testament to the love they had cultivated. This was not merely a gathering. It was a collective revelation, a divine confirmation of unity in their purpose. After Mrs. Hargrove's testimony, Thomas leaned over to Emily, whispering excitedly, "It's happening. The fabric of faith is being woven tighter." She nodded, overwhelmed by the palpable presence of God surrounding them. Just as the evening hit its crescendo, a sudden chill wound through the chapel, and the candles flickered ominously. A sense of quietude spread, followed by a rustle at the back of the room. The stranger from weeks past reappeared, his presence commanding yet comforting, just as she remembered. "Beloved," he spoke softly, "your testimonies have called forth the divine presence. Remember, amidst your hope, shadows will seek to scatter your light. You must guard your heart and this sacred space even more fiercely now." Emily felt the urgency in his words like a sudden gust that framed the night. Could they truly defy the shadows? With a firm heart, she stepped forward, declaring, "We stand together. Together we will fortify this sacred space." As applause erupted around her, she felt the weight of the world ease just a bit. Yet in her spirit, she sensed that this was only the beginning. What unseen challenges awaited them? Could their collective faith be the armor that would shield them against the inevitable storms? The question lingered, shrouded in a divine mystery, as the warmth of fellowship surrounded Emily, fueling her resolve. But deep down, she knew something was coming that would test all they had built. They had stepped into a battle, and what lay ahead could change everything. As the echoes of applause faded, an electric tension filled the chapel. Emily could almost feel the heartbeat of the community around her, a collective rhythm pulsing in time with her own. She gazed at the faces illuminated by flickering candlelight, each one a testament to resilience and faith. Yet, the chilling words of the stranger still hung in the air, a reminder to remain vigilant. Moments later, Thomas rose from his seat, the fervor in his eyes mirroring Emily's own. "Let us pray," he declared, and the congregation shifted into a posture of devotion. With heads bowed and hearts wide open, they turned their thoughts to the divine, inviting God into their midst, ready to stand against the shadows that threatened to creep in. Emily felt a warmth envelop her, a tangible presence that coursed through the space. As they prayed, soft whispers floated around the chapel. "Protect us, Lord," a voice murmured. "Guide our steps, and strengthen our hearts." Another voice joined in. The stranger stood silently, watching over them, an anchor in a whirlwind of emotion. Emily sensed that his purpose was far greater, that he bore the weight of their collective fears as well as their hopes. She felt the urgency swell within the hearts of those gathered, a realization that they were part of something much larger than themselves. As the prayer concluded, a stillness enveloped the chapel, deep and sacred. Suddenly, a radiant light burst forth from the back of the room, causing heads to snap up in unison. Emily's breath caught in her throat. The glow illuminated the stranger's face, revealing an expression of ethereal peace. "Fear not," he said softly yet powerfully, his voice a soothing balm, "for what unfolds this night is a glimpse into the divine plan." He paused, allowing the weight of his words to settle upon the gathering. Miracles await those who guard their hearts, for even the smallest act of faith can become a beacon in darkness. Renewed determination surged through the congregation, and Emily stood taller, her spirit soaring. She felt the warmth of hope sparking like wildfire among her community. Suddenly, one of the younger boys from the back hesitantly raised his hand. "What do we do when the shadows come, sir?" His innocent question sparked a wave of murmurs, yet something in it resonated deeply with everyone. The stranger smiled warmly. "You will remember your purpose, young one, and you will protect your sacred space through love, kindness, and unwavering faith." With every act of compassion, you take a step back into the light and draw others with you. Emily's heart swelled as she absorbed the truth in his words. It was a call to action, a divine encouragement. Together, she echoed, "We will be beacons of light. We'll share our love and stand strong against doubt." Then something remarkable occurred. As they shared their resolve, the candle flames steadied, burning steadily despite the growing winds outside. People felt a surge of energy, hands clasped tighter together in collective spirit. A shared warmth filled the air, moments of connection resonating deep within them. But just as hope surged, an unsettling rumble echoed from outside the chapel. Thunder rolled, deep and menacing. Emily exchanged fearful glances with Thomas, whose brow furrowed. The stranger raised a hand for silence, his expression transforming into one of solemn clarity. The storm can test your resolve, yet it is also how you emerge transformed. Gather your hearts, dear ones, for the battle is not merely against the winds without, but the doubts within. What does that mean? Emily breathed, her pulse racing. With intensity in his gaze, the stranger replied, "It means that your faith will be the shield against the deepening storm. Trust in your unity and the grace that flows among you, for it will strengthen you against what lies ahead." As thunder crashed again, rattling the chapel's wooden beams, Emily felt the anxious energy shift into a divine flow. Could their communal faith indeed be the armor against the tumult brewing beyond their sacred space? She found herself standing on the precipice of a deeper understanding, her heart racing with anticipation. What challenges would rise against them in the dark? How was their collective faith poised to become an anchor in the storm? Questions lingered in the air as they prepared to step into the unknown, where miracles awaited just beyond the veil of uncertainty. The thunder continued to rumble, a heavy presence that seemed to echo the doubts churning in Emily's heart. She glanced around the chapel, seeing the mix of resolve and trepidation etched on the faces of her community. In that moment, a new voice emerged from the back of the room, soft yet unwavering, pulling everyone's attention. "Mama said faith is louder than thunder." A young girl piped up, her voice carrying a childlike innocence that resonated through the crowd. Emily's heart warmed at the girl's brave proclamation, and a ripple of smiles began to spread like sunlight breaking through the clouds. The stranger nodded approvingly, his eyes sparkling with affection for the child. "Indeed," he replied, "it is in the stillness of your heart that you find clarity amidst the storm. Something powerful stirs within you when you choose faith over fear." As he spoke, the flickering candle flames danced, growing taller as if in response to his words. Their golden glow pushed against the encroaching shadows, illuminating the vulnerability in their hearts and filling them with courage. Emily felt a surge of energy pulse through her, an awareness that they were all woven into a fabric of sacred connection, a tapestry of love and faith bathed in divine light. "Stand firm," the stranger urged, raising his arms wide, inviting everyone to feel the divine energy that enveloped them. "Let your faith burn brighter than every doubt. Remember the times you've seen miracles in your lives. Small, seemingly insignificant moments that changed everything when embraced with love." In a wave of encouragement, the congregation began to share their testimonies, echoes of faith that had transformed mundane days into extraordinary miracles. A widow spoke of a surprise provision when she felt she had nowhere to turn. A young man shared how a simple act of kindness once restored his hope after deep despair. Each story wove a spell of light around them, reminding Emily that power dwelled in unity and shared experiences. "I remember when I was lost, and you all brought me back," Emily added, her voice strong and unwavering. "It is our love that binds us, our faith that propels us. The shadows have no claim here." As they declared their collective resolve, outside the storm seemed to howl, demanding their attention, but within the chapel, love prevailed. The walls shook around them, yet they stood tall, hearts intertwined. They were no longer individuals battling alone. They were a force. "Remember," the stranger interjected, his tone shifting to one of gentle guidance. "It takes only one flicker of faith to ignite a wildfire of hope. Enable your faith to burn fiercely, lest the winds sway your heart." Suddenly, There came a knock at the chapel door, sharp and insistent. A low murmur rose within the congregation. Fear tried to creep back in, but the stranger raised a hand, calming them. Let it be known, the storms of life can bring clarity, they often reveal what we truly believe. As he moved toward the door, Emily's heart raced. What awaited them beyond the threshold? Would their collective strength be tested? Or was it another layer of divine purpose preparing to unfold? Stay close, she whispered to those beside her, feeling an electric thrill of anticipation. Whatever comes next, we stand together. The thunder roared once more, louder than before. The stranger opened the door, a flash of light breaking through the threshold. As they peered into the blinding brightness beyond, uncertainty loomed, yet the promise of connection thrummed in the air. What revelation awaited them on the other side of that door? Would this be a transition toward deeper understanding, or an invitation to confront the shadows head-on? The door swung open, and a blinding light flooded the chapel. It was as if the heavens had momentarily parted, inviting them into a realm not bound by the limits of their earthly fears. A soft wind swept in, whispering tales of hope and courage, and carrying with it the fragrance of blooming wildflowers. For a split second, the world outside transformed. The storm didn't seem thunderous anymore. It was merely a backdrop to this divine invitation. Come forth, the stranger beckoned, his voice deep and inviting, filled with the promise of something beyond the storm. He stepped through the threshold, embodying the connection they all craved, the connection to something greater than themselves. The congregation hesitated, hearts racing as they felt the pull of this moment, as if destiny itself had summoned them. What lies beyond? A voice quivered from the back of the room, trembling with both fear and curiosity. The stranger turned, his eyes now shimmering with divine authority. What lies beyond is your opportunity to embrace the transformation meant for you. God awaits with open arms. The choice to step into the light is yours. With a deep breath, Emily felt the energy around her shift. The voices of her community seemed to fade away as clarity settled in her heart. She focused on the warmth of the candlelight still flickering within the chapel, reminding her that they had strength together. Let us go, Emily called out, her spirit ignited. We cannot stand still when we are called to move. One by one, they stepped toward the light, breaking the chains of silence and trepidation. As they crossed the threshold, a soft hush fell around them, and time seemed to stand still. The world outside the door came into view, a garden of lush greenery, awash with golden light, a place previously hidden behind the storm. A woman gasped, "Look at the beauty." The stranger smiled, a knowing look etched across his face. This is what happens when you choose faith amidst the tempest. Beauty is born from intention, love, and the willingness to take a step forward. As they walked deeper into this garden of light, each spirit pulsed with renewed life. They laughed, they cried, they held hands, every step echoing the testimonies of their hearts. In this sacred space, their collective pain transformed into joy, their doubts into assurance. Suddenly, it struck Emily like a flash of insight. This garden, it's our promise. It's a place where our memories, our love, and our faith converge into something greater. Yes, the stranger affirmed, his spirit radiating warmth. This garden nurtures miracles. Here, the seeds of your faith can bloom into what you've never imagined. But then, a shadow flickered at the edge of the garden. It was subtle, yet the presence of doubt cast a chilling aura, a reminder that darkness often lurks near the light. The congregation sensed it, and unease rippled through their ranks. Beware, the stranger intoned. The shadows can deceive if you allow them. Guard your hearts diligently. Do not let fear creep back in. Faith brings clarity, even amidst uncertainty. Emily's heart quickened. She looked around at her community. They were in this together. We will guard this space, she proclaimed, blocking out the encroaching shadows in her heart. Faith and love are our shields. As they clasped hands, a warmth spread from their circle, a protective barrier against the looming doubt. But the shadows stirred, waiting for cracks to appear in their resolve. What will we do? A young man asked, eyes wide with concern, casting glances toward the gathering shadows. Emily took a deep breath, feeling the weight of their faith pressing against the unknown. We will stand firm, speaking hope into existence. We will not let the dark overpower this light. And as they all closed their eyes, drawing on the energy of the garden, a singular thought filled her mind. The moment of divine intervention is upon us, but would the light be enough to stave off the doubts that threaten to overtake them? Would they hold the garden sacred, or would they succumb to the darkness in their midst? A profound stillness enveloped the garden as they closed their eyes, hearts beating in rhythm with the call of faith. Emily felt a swell of strength rising within her, a reservoir of love and hope forged in shared vulnerability. This was their time to rise, to claim the garden not just as a place of beauty, but as a sanctuary for their souls. Feel the light, she whispered into the silence, her words an offering to the heavens. Let it fill you, let it awaken your spirit. As if in response, the golden glow around them intensified, washing over them like a wave of warmth. Every doubt, every flicker of fear illuminated against the brilliance of their faith. The shadows, once lingering menacingly, seemed to tremble under this collective surge of conviction. Then came a voice, soft yet commanding, like the rustling of leaves whispering truths long awaited. Trust in the light. The shadows are illusions, mere echoes of what you once believed. You are stronger together. The stranger stood at the center, radiating an inviting aura, his eyes filled with wisdom that saw beyond the turmoil. The garden reflects your hearts. It is not separate from you. It is your creation, nourished by faith, watered by your unity. Tend to it and it will thrive. Neglect it and it may wither. Emily felt the weight of his words settle over them like a warm blanket. Could they truly maintain this sacred space? Could they keep the garden alive amidst the shadows? Together we will cultivate it. A voice broke the silence, filled with determination. It was Miriam, a fellow congregant. Her features glowed with newfound resolve. We have to nourish the roots of faith. We must share our stories, teach each other, and remind ourselves of the light within. Yes, Emily echoed, emboldened. Let us share our joys, our struggles, and our prayers. In doing so, we build walls of love that the shadows cannot breach. As if summoned by their determination, the winds picked up, swirling gently around the garden. Petals from the vibrant flowers danced in the air, drifting like small reminders of grace. Each bloom a testament to faith, an encouragement to blossom amidst adversity. With hearts alight, they began to share. One by one, voices emerged, stories of trials turned to triumphs, where faith shone brightest in the dark. Tales began weaving a tapestry of collective strength, each thread rich with the hues of hope, vulnerability, and resilience. While they spoke, the shadows hovered, but they no longer felt ominous. Instead, they took on the form of specters from the past, fears faced, failures embraced. Each story transformed the shadows into lessons, reminders of the power of faith forged through struggle. Look, a young girl exclaimed, pointing towards a gleaming bush. That flower is glowing. Emily turned and gasped. There, standing proud against the thickets, was a single flower shimmering radiantly, a beacon in this gentle darkness, embodying their collective faith. It pulsed with energy, urging them forth. That's our faith taking form. The stranger exclaimed, excitement sparkling in his voice. Your faith brings life here. Each act of love and belief nurtures the garden. The light grows stronger with each story shared. But as their hopes soared, Emily caught a fleeting shadow across her vision, a whispered reminder that the shadows were still there, still flickering. Can we really guard this space? She pondered. What if the shadows grow again? Remember, the stranger intoned, his gaze remaining steady, you are never alone. Each moment you commit to that light strengthens not just your connection, but the bonds of this community. Here lies your divine promise. As they felt the growing energy envelop them, Emily sensed a calling rising within, an urgent whisper that stirred her heart. We must not only guard this garden, we must share it with those still wandering in darkness outside its walls. What awaited them beyond the garden's ethereal borders? Would they be bold enough to reach out, to invite others into their blossoming sanctuary? That was the question now stirring in their hearts as the light beckoned them forward. Emily's heart raced as the stranger's words hung in the air, heavy with possibility. They stood at the edge of a new beginning, a pivotal moment that could shape not just their lives but countless others. The garden, vibrant and full of life, was a testament to what could happen when faith flourished. But what of those who had yet to experience this same grace? We cannot let fear hold us back, Miriam spoke, her voice steady as she looked around at the group. We felt the power of this place. Just imagine if we could share it with those who are lost. We could offer them the light we found. A ripple of agreement surged through the gathering. Sensing the unity, Emily was filled with warmth. However, a small doubt lingered, a whisper in the back of her mind that begged to be addressed. What if they don't understand? What if they don't feel what we feel? As if aware of her thoughts, the stranger approached, his presence calming. You may not have all the answers, but faith doesn't ask for certainty, it seeks a heart willing to serve. Reach out with love and authenticity, and the light will guide your words. The gentle breeze carried his voice, weaving through the garden, embracing each of them. It reminded them that spiritual courage was not the absence of fear, but the resolve to act despite it. Taking a deep breath, Emily spoke again, inspired. Let us gather our stories. Let us prepare ourselves to share what this garden has meant for us, to guide them towards the light that has transformed us. Eyes brightened at her words. The atmosphere shifted, as if the air itself buzzed with energy. They began brainstorming ideas, enthusiasm igniting discussions on how they could invite others into this sacred space. Some suggested hosting weekly gatherings. Others proposed creating a community garden that extended beyond this enchanting refuge. As each idea blossomed, Emily felt their collective faith radiate like sunlight breaking through the canopy of trees. It was a powerful reminder that this journey was not just theirs alone. It was an invitation for many others to join. In the distance, a dark cloud gathered, swirling ominously above the garden. The shadows, no longer just figments of their worries, now appeared real and palpable. What is that? A voice gasped. The stranger remained calm, his eyes fixed on the approaching cloud. There will always be challenges and shadows attempting to pry you away from your purpose. But remember, with each step you take toward the light, shadows diminish. You must persist despite any darkness that may appear. Emily felt a shiver run down her spine, a sense of heightened purpose settling within her. They were embarking on a mission that could change lives. But first, they needed to bolster their defenses. Let us create a protective circle of prayer, she suggested, feeling a need to anchor their intentions as they joined hands. Their hearts aligned in prayer, Emily pressed her spirit into the collective energy of the group. She invoked the divine, seeking clarity and courage for their newly birthed vision. With every whispered prayer, the shadows trembled. The dark cloud hovered ominously, yet the glowing flower stood resolutely beside them, casting warm light against the encroaching gloom. Together we will shield this space, Miriam reassured everyone. And as we stand united, we will rise against the storm. In the quiet moments that followed their prayer, something miraculous began to unfold. The air thickened with energy as flickers of golden light began to dance around them like fireflies, illuminating the path forward. But just as hope surged anew, Emily caught sight of something, a vision that flickered beyond the veil, compelling and yet elusive. What awaited them on this path? Would they be strong enough to withstand the trials that loomed ahead? As they released their hands, a divine sense of urgency filled the air, beckoning them deeper into their mission. With hearts ignited and spirits soaring, they knew a new chapter had begun, and the answers still lay shrouded in mystery. The sunlight filtered softly through the leaves above, casting a shimmering golden hue over the garden. It felt like a sacred aura, surrounding them with warmth and purpose. Emily opened her eyes wide, drawn into the vision that had captured her heart. What had she seen? It fluttered at the edge of her thoughts, elusive and shimmering like the light dancing above. Emily? Miriam's voice broke through, gentle yet firm. What did you see? Taking a breath, Emily shared it was something beautiful, a moment where our efforts coalesce into a vibrant tapestry. But it felt fragile, as if we must tend to it with care. The stranger nodded thoughtfully. Every vision from the divine comes with a call to action. What you glimpsed signifies the possibility of transformation, but it requires dedication and vigilance. His words ignited a fire within Emily. Then we must not only share our stories but also protect this space where the transformation can take place. Our sacred garden deserves our commitment. With fervor, they began discussing not just the invitations they would extend, but also the ways to safeguard this ground against the looming darkness. Emily proposed, "Let us build a community that not only welcomes but nurtures. We must create the right environment for everyone who enters." The group nodded, enthusiasm bubbling over. Miriam suggested planting new flowers that symbolized hope. Each bloom can represent someone whose spirit we embrace. As they thrive, we will too, reflecting the glory of our mission. As they spoke, a subtle shift filled the air. Above them, the dark cloud continued to swirl, but with each word of affirmation spoken, rays of light pierced through the murk. It was as if the garden responded, blooming even more vibrantly in the face of adversity. "Let us also establish regular gatherings for prayer and reflection," suggested another voice, laced with excitement. "A place for people to recharge, to connect with the divine and with one another." "Yes," Emily interrupted, feeling a surge of affirmation. "Through those gatherings, we can share our faith and encourage one another. And perhaps, some of those who are lost might find their way back home." The stranger interjected once more, his expression serious. "Building this community requires mutual support and grace. But you must always remember, the light you share must shine brightly from within. Only then can it reach others who are wandering in darkness." They took a moment to reflect, hearts entwined in that sacred circle of intention. Each person's admiration for the garden grew, as they envisioned what it could become a sanctuary for many seeking refuge and rejuvenation. As the shadows loomed, mixed feelings stirred within Emily. Hope was strong, yet the weight of responsibility pressed on her. We must prepare ourselves spiritually as well. The shadows outside may challenge us, but we must be resilient. Let us call upon our ancestors who walked this path before. After a collective sigh, they began to share stories of faith, trials, and miracles, tales that spoke of divine providence and human resilience. Each story painted their collective memories with colors of hope and love, brushing away doubt and reinforcing their purpose as they shared. Emily felt the garden itself listening, absorbing their energy, and perhaps even granting them wisdom in return. A profound silence fell as they concluded, an unspoken promise gathering strength among them. But just as the warmth of faith settled in their hearts, the dark cloud shifted, casting a deeper shadow over the garden. A distant rumble echoed, not of thunder, but a warning. Emily's pulse quickened again. Together, the stranger reminded them, "You must remain united against the darkness ahead. Prepare your hearts and minds for what is to come." In that moment, they felt a surge of inspiration, ignited by a common flame. Yet the mystery loomed larger. What did the dark cloud signify? Would their unity be strong enough to turn the tide? The answers awaited just on the edge, shimmering like the fleeting vision Emily had seen. With the air electric with anticipation, they readied themselves for the challenges ahead. They were on the brink of something extraordinary, and the true test of their faith was yet to unfold. As dawn broke over Hopevale, the air shimmered with renewed purpose. The once distant storm clouds that loomed ominously seemed to have subsided, giving way to a clarity that underscored their mission. Emily stood at the threshold of the garden, surveying the vibrant blooms that now danced in the light. One thing became clear: they were forged anew by their collective faith. "Today is the day," she whispered, looking around at her community clustered close. "Today we share this light." Excitement pulsed in the morning air, wrapping around them like the warmth of the sun. The stranger, now ever-present but no longer ominous, stood beside her. His gentle smile assured them they were not alone. "Remember, He began, his voice steady. Every heart you touch carries the spark of goddess light. Each moment spent in love ripples outward, illuminating even the darkest paths. Emily felt the words settle in her chest, a tangible weight that embodied understanding. Could their act of sharing be the very antidote to the creeping shadows? They all joined hands, spirits entwined, and began praying not only for themselves but for those who had yet to experience this divine garden. As they prayed, Emily caught sight of Thomas's face, filled with calm strength. He nodded toward her with a look of unwavering support, and she felt emboldened. Let us open our doors wide, not just to the ones we know, but to strangers in need. There are souls out there, waiting for this embrace. The congregation erupted in fervor as they discussed their plans, inviting families, organizing picnics, holding open prayer circles. Each idea sharpened their mission, solidifying the faith they stood upon. As Emily spoke, she felt her voice layered with purpose, immersing them in a shared dream. Just then, a gust of wind rustled through the leaves, momentarily charging the air with a sense of anticipatory wonder. "The garden speaks," the stranger remarked, his gaze directed toward the swaying trees. "Light and darkness dance hand in hand, but the choice lies firmly in your hearts." Encouraged, they began to set up simple decorations around the entrance of the garden, a welcome sign adorned with cheerful blooms, banners proclaiming love and fellowship. Joy bubbled at the preparations, but beneath it all, Emily felt the stirring presence of shadows lurking nearby. Just as they put finishing touches on their garden's entrance, a small group approached, hesitantly stepping into view. They saw the physical embodiment of fear, faces etched with uncertainty, hands fidgeting with doubt. Yet amidst them was also a flicker of curiosity, igniting the possibility of light. "Welcome," Emily called, stepping forward with open arms. "You're safe here. You belong." Her words resonated deeply, echoing the truth of their journey together. As they looked at each other, uncertainty began to lift. One of the newcomers, a woman with tear-streaked cheeks, stepped closer. "We've heard whispers of healing. Can we really be a part of this?" she asked, her voice laced with hope. "Yes," Emily affirmed, her heart swelling. "It's time to shed your burdens. Together, we will tend to this garden, nurturing our collective faith." The thrill of the moment breathed new life into the gathering. The presence of those once fearful lent strength to the community. Together, they exchanged stories, shared laughter, and prayed. Each testimony became a seed planted in the garden of faith. As conversations flowed, the shadows that had lingered began to melt away beneath the radiance of newfound connection. The darkness that once felt so threatening now receded like mist before the dawn. But uncertainty was no stranger. Just as joy took root, the wind shifted, a whisper warning them that trials might still await. The stranger remained, a steadfast reminder that shadows could return, but not if they stood strong together. "Your unity is your strength," he reiterated, "and love is the anchor against the storms." And then, on the fringes of the garden, a figure emerged, a man who bore the weight of skepticism, his posture rigid beneath the burden of doubt. "This is just a charade," he called, his voice cutting through the harmony that had formed. "You think you've healed?" A hush fell over the group, but the flames flickered defiantly as Emily stepped forward. "This garden embodies our struggles and our triumphs. Every step taken together has led us to this moment. You are welcome here too, even in your doubts." Face to face with uncertainty, the stranger stood beside her, offering strength. Even in moments of doubt, hearts can awaken to transformation. Join us, and you may discover that acceptance is a pathway to healing. Emily's mind raced. Would their resolve withstand this challenge? Yet beneath her doubts emerged a divine certainty. "Together we will show you what faith looks like. Our light grows brighter with every heart that joins us," she declared, sending ripples of optimism throughout the garden. In that moment, silence hung in the air, a sacred pause of choice. And then slowly the man stepped forward, his tension gradually easing. Something compelled him to embrace the warmth they exuded. And as he crossed the threshold, the garden shimmered in response, the flowers blooming anew in vibrant colors. Unity replaced fear, and from that moment onward, each heart in the garden recognized the sacred space they had crafted together. With newfound strength, they forged onward, not only as guardians of their sacred tradition but as beacons of hope to a world in need. The cycles of light and shadow, trials and triumphs, would always exist, but their bond was unwavering. Now truly united, Emily looked around, warm light dancing within their spirits. Let us carry this garden in our hearts and share it with every soul we encounter. Together, we will guard not only this sacred space but the very essence of humanity. The congregation affirmed her declaration, voices rising in unison. In that moment, Emily knew this was just the beginning of an expansive journey, one where love would illuminate even the darkest corners of the heart as warmth enveloped the garden. They realized their faith was more than just a flicker. It was a radiant flame, a beacon for all, drawing countless souls towards the light. This was the divine manifestation of their collective spirit, forever etched in the tapestry of Hopevale. Now is the time to carry this legacy forward. You need to subscribe now to our channel and not miss the next exclusive faith stories. Leave a like now to fuel the algorithm and spread the light. Comment your reactions and testimonies about this powerful ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this manifestation. Don't wait even one more second. True servants of God understand the importance of supporting our vision.